Breaking right now, the outrage, the disgust coming from Buckingham Palace is actually at another level. These are not the usual words you hear briefed via King Charles and Prince William, like F you, Meghan.
Prince Harry just got torched, just by the British public, but by top royal experts who are calling him deluded, dangerous and honestly desperate. And the BBC, they're getting hammered for protecting Harry, helping him rewrite royal history and running what critics are calling a shameless cover-up.
And stop gaslighting us, Prince Harry. But that is how angry, quite rightly, the palace is after Prince Harry made a succession of claims to the British Bashing Corporation about his security, including claiming that members of the royal family and members of the political elite actually wanted to put him at risk, and that as a result, it was, in his words, quote, an establishment stitch-up. Watch.
I have had it described to me, once people knew about the facts, that this is an good old-fashioned establishment stitch-up, and that's what it feels like.
Absolute joke. So not a surprise that the British public and actually all of the mainstream media have finally had enough. The Mail on Sunday splashing on this bombshell new poll that says the public now feel exactly how I have for many years. Just strip them of their HRH titles altogether. Let me bring in my superstar panel now. Alex Phillips and Henry Bolton. Henry, you are obviously a security and defence expert. Do you believe at all what Harry is saying? Because if this were true, if what he was saying to the BBC were actually true, that would be an extraordinary turn of events, that members of Harry's own family, his father and brother, were conspiring with the British government and the British security services to put him at risk because for some reason they want to take him out. It's nuts, isn't it?
So if you're tired of the media shielding the Sussexes, smash that subscribe button and let's dig into what really happened. Harry's latest BBC appearance was supposed to clear the air. Instead, it sparked a wildfire of backlash. He accused the palace of emotional abandonment.
It's absolutely nuts, Dan. I've worked with the security services. I've worked with the police. I know people who've been in close protection for the Metropolitan Police and other police forces. It is nuts. And Harry, if you happen to be listening, which he's probably not, look, have a cup of coffee and take a holiday and think about this seriously, because you are talking absolute rubbish. The fact of the matter is that there are very few members of the royal family who get full-time protection. It is provided to working royals on a case-by-case basis, depending on what what events they're attending and so on. But the idea that he's in any way different is absolutely false and wrong. And the idea, I mean, the king has, his audience with the Prime Minister, and there are contacts at all sorts of levels of government, including security. But the idea that the king could influence His Majesty's government in making decisions as to what the risk and the threat is to the national interest, which is why these people get security. It's not for a prestige thing, as Harry seems to think. The idea that the king could really influence that is for the birds. The government and the security services make the decisions on that, not the king. Although, in theory, I suppose he could order that it happen, but I think...
yes, but he wouldn't. Number one, he wouldn't. And number two, it's nuts to suggest that he would. Now, Alex Phillips, in terms of this poll, right, I'm not surprised the British people have had enough. And I just want to show you something before you weigh in. So Meghan's Mole posted, King Charles should grant Prince Harry's wish since he hates the UK so much and considers California home. And they actually put together a bit of a compilation showing that Prince Harry for some time has actually had disdain for his own country. So Alex Phillips, just go. Just go. Yeah. Like, why are you coming back? You don't want your father to see his own grandkids. You don't want your grandkids to come to the country at all. Why do you want them in the line of succession? Why do you want to keep on using your royal titles? Just go. And I'm sorry, I know he's going through so much at the moment, Alex, with his health. But I think Charles needs to listen to his eldest son now, William, who says, when I become king, they're out. The titles are stripped. Everything's gone. Who cares if it needs an act of parliament? It would actually probably be one of the most popular bills in the public to ever go through parliament, right? Surely it's time, Alex.
This is the thing. He did just go, didn't he? He chose to be a private citizen of another country that isn't the United Kingdom. And it may have escaped Harry's attention because I don't think he's particularly bright. But in the United Kingdom, where there is no written constitution, the monarchy remains the head of state. And so you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, in as much as you can't say, I'm going to be a citizen of America and live over in Montecito, and at the same time also be in 10 Downing Street. It's not possible. And so when these debates are happening in the courts of law and the highest judges of the land are saying, look, this is the legal implication of what you are demanding, which is essentially to hire the police in the United Kingdom and ask them to bear arms where normally they do not do so, you're essentially setting a case precedent for Beyonce to do that, or Taylor Swift, or Kanye West, or whoever else might say, I'm a high-profile citizen and there's a grudge against me, the Ayatollah of Iran. You know, you cannot say, just because I was born into this family, I deserve this, when you've chosen to leave that institution. Now, I have some sympathy in as much as Harry didn't ask to be born a royal and have, you know, a childhood in a fishbowl with the terrible thing that happened to his mother and all of the psychological consequences therein. But at the same time, if you have chosen to leave what is a constitutional monarchy, you cannot then demand to have the privileges that only the most senior people within that family are granted at the behest of the government, of the taxpayer. And, you know, it is quite sad, really.
And doubled down on his claims of royal racism without offering a single piece of new evidence. Royal biographer Angela Levin said it best, a masterclass in delusion and victimhood. Others called Harry unhinged, incoherent, and totally detached from reality.
Well, it is sad. It is sad because, I mean, look, it's sad on so many levels, but I also actually think it's worrying now because this is depths of delusion being plumbed. And the fact that we now have the royal family actually briefing that to the Daily Telegraph, their newspaper, is quite something. But just to set it up, to show that I'm not making this up, here is one of those moments where Harry, I think, is just proving he's been living in a bubble. He's almost got Stockholm syndrome with Meghan Markle, and she's pumping these lies into his head, and he regurgitates clear nonsense.
What the court decided today was that they were justified for 4 reasons to not have that review. And a major part of that is because you're no longer a working royal, a change in your status. Do you not accept that from the court?
Well, my status hasn't changed. It can't change. I am who I am. I am part of what I'm part of, and I can never escape that. My circumstances will always be the same. But with a specific answer to the question, there are comparisons that exist. And again, I have to be careful what I say, but I think it would be quite shocking for the British public and the public at large to understand or know that, in fact, many people do know this, that people who leave public office receive lifetime protection, regardless of whether there are threats or risks to them.
And so in response to these mad claims, Prince Harry, in the Daily Telegraph, has been accused of losing touch with reality. And again, I stress this is a big deal. The Daily Telegraph is the newspaper of the royal family. They report the Duke of Sussex has simply lost touch with reality by giving a scorched earth interview to the BBC, it has been claimed. A palace insider has alleged that the King's aides view the Duke's interview on Friday as proof that he doesn't get the message. The interview is understood to have deepened the rift between Buckingham Palace and the Duke and his wife Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, with a peace between the two sides more distant than ever. It is now claimed that a senior courtier labelled the Duke deluded for thinking that airing the family's private affairs on national television could bring about a reconciliation. The insider said Harry has simply lost touch with reality. The man doesn't get the message. His father has avoided all his efforts for the last few years to speak on the phone or try to get messages to him through various circles. This TV moment shows his desperation and refusal to accept any responsibility for attacks on the royals' attempts to undermine the institution and vicious claims about racism and bullying. One of Charles's team labelled him deluded for thinking a media interview quite clearly poking at his father and brother could force any talks. They added if Harry reckoned going scorched earth was a clever move, he was foolish. The insider also said the irony of the Duke using the media to seemingly criticise the royal family was not lost on the palace. The very arena of the media, which he has bemoaned for years, is the same platform he utilises to seemingly hurt his father by saying things like Charles may not be long for this world, as well as other disrespectful accusations. The irony is not wasted on anyone within courtier circles and senior royals, which means Prince William and Prince Harry.
One former royal aide even claimed he's not helping himself. He's destroying what little dignity he has left. And the BBC, let's just say they're in serious hot water. Instead of real journalism, viewers say they served up soft questions, shielded Meghan from any criticism, and even cut off royal commentators who tried to push back. Critics are calling the whole thing propaganda, not journalism.
And Henry, I'm really interested actually too about the fact that Harry just seems to be everything that we don't want a royal to be. Because we know that working royals have gone through serious security threats in the past, but they do not talk about it. It's that keep calm and carry on situation. And I was really struck by this post on X from Fee over the weekend, who posted this directly to Harry. She called him H because that's what Meghan calls him. And she wrote, H, take a look here at your late grandmother on a 19-year-old horse, Burmese, when 6 shots were fired at her from a man in the crowd. She remained incredibly calm, managed to keep her horse in check, and just carried on as if nothing had happened. You obviously didn't inherit her stoic, brave, courage in adversity gene, preferring to sulk and whine and complain because you're unreasonable and imagined demands aren't being met. You aren't fit to lace her boots. And it is just worth looking at that incredible historic moment where this assassination attempt did take place against the Queen. Look at her. A little pat, and on we go. That's the greatest generation. But actually, King Charles, then Prince Charles, also dealt incredibly calmly with an assassination attempt. And as according to Taz posted on this, King Charles' assassination attempt, keep calm, carry on. Princess Anne actually fought off her gun-wielding would-be kidnapper who'd already shot 2 people and yelled, not bloody likely, when he asked her to let him in the car to grab her. She still doesn't have 24/7 security. And I think it is so important to just look at those moments of history and contrast the behaviour of those royals with Harry. Henry Bolton, I mean, it couldn't be any more extreme.
It couldn't. And Dan, thank you for bringing up those 3 examples, because it illustrates not only the gulf between the senior members of the royal family and Prince Harry, but also really the sort of stoicism that I think this country has been in the past famous for, and I think that we should rediscover. But that's a different topic, perhaps. Look, Harry has been around the royal family for long enough and around police protection for long enough and served in the armed forces for long enough to know the things that we are talking about. Delusional, yes, but why? And I'm going to stick my neck out here. And I think he's got issues. He's the younger brother. It's happened before where the younger brother to the heir to the throne has felt a little bit sidelined, although they're not. But I get all of that. But generally they work through it. In this case, Harry has fallen in with Meghan Markle, and I have to say that this comes across to me as a little bit. I wonder how much she's pulling his strings.
Oh, totally.
Totally
is. She absolutely is.
A bit more blunt than me, but I think she's
doubt
been
about
a
that.
narcissist who is in this for herself. And I think that he is being fed these lines. Well, when you do this interview, you need to say this, and you need to tell your father that, and you need to take this to court because this is wrong and that's wrong, and we should have this and we should have that, and you should have such and such. I think that's a lot of that. He's vulnerable anyway, as I say, but I think that that's probably the cause behind this. And I would say to Harry, you held your mother's commission in the armed forces. You have come from a long line of people who have stood by this country thick and thin. Think, for example, of your grandfather, King George VI, who was your great grandfather, who was an ill man and still did what his duty. Your grandmother, the same thing. Your father is doing much the same thing. You are not. You are letting yourself down. You are letting your nation down. You are letting the British people down. And you need, if your wife is actually telling you to do these things, you need to face that reality. It's going to be difficult for you, but you're going to have to do the right thing, or you're going to be pilloried for it for the rest of your life.
Columnist Sarah Vine didn't hold back. She wrote, "The BBC isn't reporting on Harry. It's enabling his psychodrama while eroding public trust in the monarchy." So, is this just bad journalism or a full-on PR mission from Camp Sussex?
Very well put. Alex Phillips, can I just we'll just ask you a final thing on this, because there was some outrage that the BBC, the British Fashion Corporation, used this interview to push Reform UK's big political win off the top of the news agenda on Friday. Ian Dale posted on X, "On a day of huge political news, the BBC News at 10 leads with an interview of Prince Harry by someone who isn't even from the BBC. I wonder how much they paid for it. The first 12 minutes of the programme was devoted to a quite astonishing news judgment." And Dan Hodges added, "BBC dropping that explosive Prince Harry interview slap bang into the middle of the local election results day is a strange editorial decision, and one that will delight number 10. Alex Phillips, that felt weird, right? It felt like the BBC was actually trying to stop in its tracks the non-stop coverage of Reform UK and Nigel Farage's big election win.
I wouldn't give the BBC so much credit as to think there was a strategy behind it. I think what it serves to show is, and I got this when I was touring the news studios on Friday, being asked to give commentary on those local election results, which is they still talked about everything in the framework of the two legacy parties, looked at reform as a sort of aberration, a protest vote. You've got in the BBC a corporation that is entirely staffed by metropolitan elites who probably don't give a fig about local elections, frankly. They don't care about potholes in the road. They don't care about how local communities feel about immigration. They don't care or notice that there is this huge tidal wave of change, not just engulfing Britain, but that has engulfed Europe. They still look on results that have taken place. I mean, Romania today, for example, what's gone on in the AfD in Germany. I mean, across Europe, across the West as a whole, they still think it's some sort of strange blip that can be explained away and ignored. And most people there are so snooty that we've got this brilliant exclusive with Prince Harry. Isn't it great? We've got him talking about stuff from California. Yeah, that's our lead story. We're going to run with that, because who cares about local elections? Not many elections were happening. Most have been cancelled. Again, the BBC never actually offered any comment on the fact that we're living in a country that has offered sitting councils to not have to face the ballot box. I mean, what does that say about democracy? But this is just the way these people's brains are wired up. You know, it's all about the dinner party discussions. It's not about what matters to Mr. and Mrs. Jones on the street. I don't think there's a strategy. I don't think they sat there and thought, I'm going to push down the local election results to the bottom of the run order. They're just thinking like all of their cohort think.
Very well put. Do you agree, Henry?
I absolutely agree. And this has gone on for years now. It's gone on for at least 2 decades, I think, and it has just grown deeper and deeper. And these people, you know, they talk about privileged elite. They are the privileged elite. They sit there, this urban liberal sort of, intelligentsia who think they're above everybody else. And that is why reform has done so well in these elections. It is because people like that look down their noses at everybody else and they don't understand what is important to the ordinary people who live real lives throughout most of the country. And I think I'm glad that Reform did so well, because I hope that it's a poke in the eye for these people.
Indeed.
Either way, taxpayers are furious. Prince Harry might think he's controlling the story, but royal experts and a furious public are tearing down his delusion piece by piece. And the BBC, they've got a lot to answer for, because when the media enables fantasy, the truth dies in silence. Now, I want to hear from you. Has Harry become deluded beyond repair? Should the BBC pay for their double standards? Hit like if you're done with the media circus. And make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this royal meltdown.